Welcome to Ink and Magic, a podcast where we read and discuss the writing craft, world building, and romance of paranormal and fantasy novels.
If you love books with bite, set in worlds of magic and mayhem, then you're in the right place. My name's Nikisha Shanae. I go by Ines.
And I'm Leslie. I write as Elle Penelope. And welcome to the show.
What's up, Leslie?
Hey, Ines. We are back for book 17 in the ongoing Changeling Trinity saga, Ocean Light.
Book 2.
I know, but I'm still using the old
numbering
system. And it's in two different series, so I'm going to be confused for the next forever.
I'm trying to. So you're right. It is technically book 2, but I'm like, I would be so fascinated to talk to someone who has come into this series at this point. Like this is their second Changeling book. If that is you, please contact us. We want to talk to you.
Yeah, reach out, put something in the comments on YouTube, because in a way, and now I did peek ahead. I don't usually peek ahead at sometimes I do about what's happening in the future books. But even book 1 in this new series, we knew Silver Merchant from the last book. I'm trying to think. We know Bowen from this book, but in the future books, there are people that we're not really familiar with. And so in some ways, and even Silver and Bo were side characters very much.
Yep.
They were, we might have gotten a perspective or two from them here and there, but we knew who they were. We knew kind of they've been around, but they weren't main people. They weren't clan mates and anything. So on that level, you could come in and it's all new people. We're all around the world. We're not just in San Francisco anymore.
Yeah.
But the stakes, the world, the history, there's so much that if you came in with Silver Silence, what is that experience like?
I can't imagine. Because there are so many Easter eggs. There's so much fan service that's still happening in these books that
This is book 17.
This is book 17. It is October of 2024 as we're recording this, and I feel like one of the movies that came out in the theaters was Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Mm.
And if you did you see that yet, Leslie?
I have not seen it. You're not going to spoil it for the listeners either, right?
I'm not going to spoil it. I can't spoil it because if you didn't see, there were a lot of previous movies referenced in that. It's a total Marvel movie, but it is like pre-Marvel movies. And if you didn't see a lot of these movies that like a Gen Xer and a millennial would have seen in their childhood, you would have been like, I don't get it. You would have followed along. You're like, why are you laughing so hard? I don't get it. I don't get the joke. How is that a joke?
Yeah.
And Leslie, I need to take you to see Deadpool and Wolverine because this is not acceptable. Not acceptable.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I've been off my game with the movies lately.
Yes. Thank you. Well, that's what's happening here. Like now, this I will spoil for the readers. This is this book because you have to have read this book if you're listening to us. But in the last series, one of the things that we were all waiting to find out was how many pup cubs Mercy was having. And we found out how many in this book.
I thought we had found out before.
I don't think we did we?
I'm pretty sure. Unless it was in a novella, but okay. Library Addict, I know you were listening. You were going to check up on this for us because you are the wealth of knowledge of the series. I feel like I knew it was 3 and it was in some other book. And I thought it was a main book. It could have been a novella, but we will consult the experts on this.
Yeah. I remember she had the baby. Oh, she did have the babies.
Okay, so maybe it's just an inspiration.
So egg on my face. But I wrote that down because I guess I forgot that Mercy had her triplets because they were in the book briefly.
Yeah, well, they were mentioned, and Mercy pops up. But we have totally, skipped way far ahead. Let's go back to the beginning of Ocean Light. We start with Black Sea, the Sea Changeling clan, I guess, in one of their underwater installations, Ryogen. And we start with Kaia, with a brand new character to us. We've never heard of her before, I don't think. And so, yeah, she was, this is a thing that didn't actually come up more. She was a scientist, but now she's a cook.
Thank you. That confused me.
I thought it was going to be like a big internal arc, like she left science because of some reason, and now she loves cooking, but like we don't really come back to that, but she just has these
No.
skills because she's trained as a scientist, and she is helping her cousin, who is the doctor, who's a very pregnant doctor, with this experiment with Bowen Knight, who is the head of the Human Alliance, who we saw cut down, shot in the last book, and we were
Mhm.
left with a cliffhanger as to whether he would survive or not. Of course, we knew he was going to survive, and you knew that he was going to be the hero of this book, but yeah, we get to see his whole story play out.
We do, and, Bo is the ticking time bomb in this book. He has the bullet went into his heart,
Hmm.
so that got repaired. He
It was a
has
mechanical or what do you call it? A fake heart? No,
I don't know, but it's
artificial,
cyanogeared,
artificial heart.
which is already difficult for Bo because he has some major hangups with the Psy.
Right. Yes. And he also has a chip in his head,
Yes.
which he put in to protect him from the Psy, because humans have no natural protection unless they happen to be born with a natural shield. But the chip is degrading; it's going to kill him. And he
Not
was the
only
first
him,
person. Yeah, and also his sister and all the people he care about because they were all implanted with the chip. But he was the first, so if he finds a solution, he can help all the people he cares about. So ticking time bomb number one, chip in his head. Uh, his sister Lily makes this deal with Black Sea for really interesting reasons, which we can come to why Black Sea agreed to that, because I loved that part of the backstory, to do this experimental treatment that might help him, but in this underwater, under like deep underwater installation. So that's where he wakes up as basically a medical experiment.
yes. Um, I hope we get her story. I hope we're going to get we have to get Lily's story because
I hope
she is
so,
the bomb.
but she's already with somebody. I don't know. She has this doctor
Was she?
boyfriend. Yeah, they mentioned him in this, and we learned about it in a previous book too.
Was he one of the bears?
No, I think he's a human doctor.
I
It
don't know. I do
it
not.
was
This went over
vaguely
my head.
mentioned in a previous book that she has this boyfriend. Now maybe she'll break up with him and he's
Of
bad
course.
and, whatever.
She doesn't have
But,
to.
like,
She's
at the
too amazing.
moment. Huh?
She's too amazing to us not have her love story on the page.
But see, the thing is about Nalini Singh is she introduces these amazing side characters. They cannot all get their own stories, you know?
She's
Like,
gonna live forever, and she's gonna keep writing these books. What are you talking about?
I know I mean, maybe they'll all get, like, short stories or novellas, and maybe she's got a plan. I mean, I know she's got plans,
She is famous for
but,
that.
like, Cassius, I'm interested in him. Malachi, is he getting a book? Mian must get a book
He
at some point.
has to get a book.
And the triplet boys, I'm interested in them, all of her cousins. There are just too many cool characters. Serafina, like, what's happening with her? The people were introduced in this book, and people have been introduced in the past, like, 16 books, and they cannot all get books. But I think that's why the short stories and the novellas exist also. So I don't
I'm
know, Lily,
interested.
maybe we'll see.
Well, if we're gonna strategically, if we're gonna continue with the Human Alliance and they're gonna play a huge role, she has to get a book. Strategically, if we're gonna continue with Black Sea, and we obviously gonna continue with Black Sea, Malachi and Mian have to get a book.
We're still
Strategically.
waiting on Nikita and Anthony's story, right?
I'm cool seeing glimpses of that. I think I would be terrified to be in Nikita's head for a whole book.
True. I think that would be a big stretch. Um, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
just, we want everyone to have a book, but I
We
just
want
don't think
all of them.
there's time, and the laws of physics don't allow for it. So
This will make me wanna start writing fanfic. I've never been a fanfic
Ooh,
person, but
yeah,
I just might
Lily
write
fanfic,
Malachi's story.
Malachi fanfic. I feel like people like Malachi and Mian are high contenders. Although I peeked at the next few books, and these are people that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah,
I mean, I
I
think
think
one of we've seen briefly, but like she goes where the muse takes her, and hopefully the muse will bring her the stories that we want to see too. But I'm sure the stories she's writing are going to be amazing anyway.
I looked ahead for the same reasons. I was looking for Malachi's name or Mion's name. I
Yes.
very specifically, yes.
Yes.
But it was interesting. So we do meet Bowen and we do meet Kaia. And one of the things that I think is fascinating, in addition to Nalini Singh being just the bomb with sub characters that who she makes us want to know more about, these two our hero and our heroine are I felt like they were truly each other's antagonists. And I think that is so common in a romance novel where you have your hero and heroine, they want different things, which is the reason that they can't be together is because they want different things and they have to spend the book trying to reconcile that. And Bowen is the director of the Human Alliance. We
Mhm.
start to see things of there's fear that things are going to fall apart if he is not there, and they haven't seen him. Everybody who's not in his inner circle, his knights he calls them, they think he's dead, and the alliance starts to fray, and the Psy and the changelings know they need the Human Alliance. They need Bo. Whatever you need to do to get
Mhm.
Bo back on his feet, do it. But he has this role that he is necessary and needed in topside in Venice. Then we meet Kaia. Kaia, we know she's a water changeling. Nalini Singh holds it until the very
Yes.
end to
Very last
know
moment.
what this is.
Yeah. And I was guessing. I mean, I was like, "What is she?" And
Did
I
it
was like,
right?
I did, because I was like, "We haven't seen any of that particular animal yet." And that's the best. I mean, dolphins are the best, right? Like, they're super
I wasn't.
smart. I wasn't sure, but I was like, I was hoping. And so, yeah, but she pushes it like one of the last
The
chapters is when we
last
finally
couple of
see.
chapters until we find out what she was. It was very well done.
So then I was like, "Oh, is she a
But
turtle also?" But anyway, we want more
no,
turtles.
she's not a turtle. I thought she might be something exciting. Anyway. So Kaya is she's a water changeling. She's had a devastating past. Her parents were these amazing people. Her dad was an artist, her mother was a doctor, and her mother was she was working to save people's lives, and they both got sick. And the humans that they were helping shoved their health to the side to deal with other people. And Kaya, she did the only thing she knew to do. She called out to her family in the sea, but they were too late. And this left a huge mark on her, and she does not want to come back up to the surface.
And she also doesn't trust humans. She also has a prejudice against humans because it was humans who were at fault for her parents not getting the medical care that could have saved her life. So there's so many layers of conflict in this book. There's so many ticking time clocks. There's, she doesn't trust humans. Bo is a human. It turns out that Kaya has Psi ancestry and is a telepath. And he has been, horribly abused by a Psi telepath. And so when he finds out, like, there's layers of conflict. He's going to die if, the chip in his head could kill him, but the actual fix that they're trying to do could also kill him. And there's only a 5% chance that he will survive. And they have this intense attraction. So in the midst of all of this conflict and all of these things that they can't be together, and Nalini Singh just layers it on more and more and more and more as we go through. It's not love at first sight, but it's intense attraction and intense connection very
Yeah,
quickly. It
yeah.
progresses within a matter of days, very, very quickly and very strongly.
But you and I both felt, I think I'm correct in saying that we felt that the first, at least half of this book moved slowly, but not slowly in a bad way.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't, serial killer. It wasn't this huge
Nothing was
external
exploding.
plot. Yeah. The first time we're in an undersea installation, so we're like in a big submarine basically, that with limited things that you could do. So it's very much forced proximity. And yeah, we're focused on the relationship, we're focused on the love story and the conflicts, and then him, is he going to get better? Also, layer of conflict, which we forgot to mention, is that Kaya specifically believes Bowen is responsible for kidnapping and killing Black Sea. We know that these kidnappings have happened. Her best friend Hugo has given her some quote unquote evidence that Bowen is to blame. So while they're trying to save his life, they also think that he might be murdering them. And like another layer of conflict.
So I want to talk about that. So again, I think for the writers of us, like it it's so important. And the reason that this slow burn worked, at least for me, was because these two, you were just like, you cannot be together. How can you be
Mhm.
together? And she spent time showing you that these two they needed each other. They needed to be together. But then you have constant mention of this best friend,
Hugo.
Hugo. And I don't know. I have issues with best friends who are the opposite sex in books.
Ooh, okay.
In books.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times I feel like they're kind of the foil.
Mm.
And Hugo was nobody had a lot of nice things to say about Hugo. I mean, they wanted him back. He was part of their family, but
Right.
nobody had a lot of nice things to say. They were like, he breaks his promises, he's a gambler, he juggles a whole lot of women because yeah, but he's good to me. Huh?
Yeah, that was tough because once you introduce he has gambling debts, you're like, oh, okay, so this dude is obviously a problem. And he's very charming, but he's flaky. Like I mean, it's a very realistic character, but it's almost like in these types of books where Bowen is always like upstanding and chivalrous and would never, have a debt like that. Um,
Yes.
there's too much contrast for him to be like we know it's not a love triangle, even though everybody at one point they were like, oh, Hugo's gonna be her mate. Like, really? What
That's
about
not how it works.
yeah, just because 'cause they're super close. It's like, could Hugo have been, and even with the George character, this was for me,
Mm.
George was the way he was described, even physically, it's like he's gonna be shifty. He's described as very tall, very thin, like, not really attractive. So, it's kind of like these people with these unattractive qualities, whether external or internal, often are going to be like problems, either traitors or doing something bad. And that's a telegraph thing. Could it have been more interesting if Hugo was, like really great and really reliable and like a wonderful best friend? Why, that would have been just a little bit more attention in there, I think.
It's interesting because we were talking in the beginning about how we want more of certain sub characters. We want more Malachi. We want more Mion. You wanted the triplets. There was
Mhm.
even a mention of Kit turning up in this book,
Yeah.
right? But and again, if you just started, if this is your book too, like you don't even know who that is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But then we have people like Hugo, and I forgot about him for a while. I'm like, I don't care about this dude. And the same thing that she did with George. Like you got the sense that she was doing something with George and that he
Mhm.
was shifty, but like I don't want his story. I'm good.
Oh, no, I don't see how we could ever get George's story. He's been
No,
responsible. I mean, that's not what he's there for.
no.
And yeah, maybe I don't wanna call them villains, they're antagonists, right?
Yeah,
And the thing is, and maybe it was in contrast to KJ, because KJ seemed like this bright, vibrant, happy dude, you liked him immediately. I didn't have any suspicions about KJ, which
she's
made him
good.
kind of the perfect villain at the
She's
end,
good.
because you didn't see it coming. George, you kinda saw coming. Hugo, you kinda saw coming, so that could have been very, like, intentional. So we're gonna give you these people, and over here don't pay attention to what I'm doing with my other hand.
She's good, man.
Yeah, yeah.
You know who that just reminded me of? This book that I still curse your name over for making me read. Six of Crows.
How do you curse my name for the one of the best books you've ever read? Come on. Like,
It
it's
is one of the best books that
amazing.
I ever read, but it is also one of those books that broke me. It broke me. But Lee Bardugo, she was teaching you what she was doing with the sleight of hand as she
Mm.
was giving you sleight of hand. And that's what Nalini Singh was doing in here. I highly recommend Six of Crows. Don't at me at Leslie when it breaks your heart.
I never said it was a romance, first of all, but it's a duology, and if you haven't read them, you need to immediately because they will change your life. All I
Yeah.
have to say.
Yeah. Anyway, sleight of hand. That's what was
Right.
happening here.
So, okay, they go forward, they have their first kiss, they get together pretty quickly. I loved when at one point they're arguing about something, because of her suspicions about him and her belief. She believes Hugo, and she thinks that Bowen is responsible for these horrible things. And he's like, well, no. And he gives her some reasons why these things happen. And she's like, oh, that actually kind of makes sense. At one point, she's like, we're having an argument. He's like, it's over. And he kisses her. Like, she's trying to have this argument. He's like, no, this argument is done. I've explained myself. So I
Yeah.
think they're really cute together. He does some really romantic things, like uh, um, creating this date, enlisting the help of the other people on the station who all love her so much. She's a maternal, we find out. So she's very motherly and she's the cook. She goes always taking care of everyone. So when they see her happy with Bowen, even though he's a newcomer and he's a human, and a lot of them are suspicious of him, they are still on Kaya's side to find love and happiness, which is a really interesting kind of tension. Like, if they really believe Hugo that this guy is, responsible for their kidnapping and murder, would they really help him? But by that time, maybe they know him better. I don't know.
I think one of the things that Nalini Singh is so good at, especially this being shifter romance, is in shifter romance, almost all the time you have found family. Found family in like a band of brothers, found family with pack.
Hmm.
And it's like the whole sea is one. They keep saying, "We are one. We are
Mhm.
family." And I think she was so incredibly smart, just the same way that she did with book 1 in this new season of bringing us into that bear pack, but also bringing us into the merchant family, unit.
Right.
But then she shows you this is the sea, and these all these people, the water is one, and these people feel like they are one. So she makes with her I think one of the ways that found family works so well is think about character archetypes. This was introduced or it was just expounded upon a lot in I think it's called The Hero of a Thousand Faces. That's
The Hero
Joseph
with a
Campbell.
Thousand Faces. Yeah, Jason Campbell.
Yeah, so they talk about all these character archetypes like the matriarch, like the mentor, like the shapeshifter, all these amazing different character archetypes, and there's dozens. And I feel like when you're doing a found family, if you can find people to fill this role, I think that's what makes it really round and whole, because I
Mhm.
think just like a hero has a journey, a matron has a journey, a mentor has a journey. Very often you kill the mentor. Hopefully that doesn't happen, right? But that happens in so often like kung fu films,
Mhm.
right? But I feel like she filled a lot of the roles. Of course, Kaya had that maternal energy, but then there was also her grandmother, Bibi,
Phoebe.
right?
Yeah.
There were just so many people. There were protectors, there were rulers. Mion is clearly a ruler, and I wanted her on the page more than she was on. I'm fascinated by her. Fascinated by
She's a
her.
great character.
Oh,
Yes.
so I'm saying that to say that I think that one of the best things to do when you're trying to figure out how to build a world is to put a found family in there and to fill it with character archetypes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. People to follow, there's people of all different types working together.
Mhm.
And if your theme, like Nalini Singh's theme, is always family, love, togetherness, unity, then and that comes out here, even with the traders. So there are two members, both Hugo and George are traders in different ways, but they are not cast out. They are not killed. Um, they're really brought in. Kaia goes to extreme lengths to bring George back, and
Right.
George is threatening Bowen's life. So at one point, Shady George, who we were kind of worried about, he steals the serum that Bowen needs. It's the experiment that's going to
And the
either
time clock is ticking down.
right. It only have 36 hours or whatever to inject it, and only the cousin, the pregnant
Was
cousin
very
doctor,
pregnant and
yeah,
has
can
had miscarriages and can't come up to the surface because they're down in the sea and she needs that pressure.
yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, again, the tension there. So and chooses to go on land to track George because she feels like she has this need to, but she has a phobia, like a real psychological phobia of being on land.
Medicated phobia.
Right, she has to medicate herself to get through it, and she won't tell Bo, she doesn't wanna tell him yet. Um, and then so they go on this trip, we get a glimpse of Kit, we see Mercy, we see Snow, I mean, Hawk and Snow
Oh
Dancers.
no.
Yeah, yeah. And, yes, familiar faces pop up as they're tracking George. They manage to get him. He tries to kill himself. They won't let him. He actually gives them back the serum, and now it's a race against time to get back under the deep with George to get the injection to have a 5% chance of saving Bowen's life. It's a lot happening in
It
this
is
book.
a lot. It is a lot. And you missed something in there. You missed a couple things in there. So one of the things that we didn't talk about is that this is going on with Bowen and Black Sea. And they thought that Bowen was a traitor, but it's
Right.
not Bowen. And they quickly realized, okay, this isn't Bowen. But Bowen starts to realize as he's digging with his sister and one of his knights, one of the other knights was not where they were supposed was where they were not supposed to be, and things are not checking out right with this particular person. And he's not ready to give over the name to Malachi yet until he's 100% sure that this person is a traitor. So that's ticking off, because if he can't figure it out
Mhm.
and before he dies, like that, this might fracture Black Sea and the Alliance, and then other changelings.
They'd be at war. And this is his second in command, who he's, all signs point to Hinali, who is his second in command at the Human Alliance, being the traitor. Um, I did have some issues with this plot point because he is a security chief of the entire Human Alliance. When your second in command starts dating somebody, don't you do a full background check on them? Don't you dig deep into that person's background? You don't just accept, oh, he's a salesman. He travels a lot. He's here and there. I didn't really meet him. I trust Hinali. I thought, and this, okay, spoiler alert, the boyfriend turns out to be Hugo, pretending to be, well,
I thought that was really well done.
that was a good twist. Didn't see that one coming at all.
Didn't see it coming.
And he also was a traitor. He was manipulated by the consortium, the big bads who are behind the scenes manipulating George and manipulating Hugo. It's, the thing where they are little pieces. They don't know much. They're just doing things that they think aren't that bad. Once we knew Hugo had gambling debts, I was like, okay, he's up for anything. Anybody can manipulate him because he's vulnerable because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But he apparently legitimately fell in love with Hinali, the Human Alliance person, and she didn't think that she was doing anything that bad by giving him a little bit of info. Also, kind of suspect, she's the head of this big organization. She's going to help her gambling addicted boyfriend, smuggle some stuff. Like, there are little points of, okay, y'all should have been doing better, honestly.
Ouch. But love is supposed to make you stupid.
Not when you're the head of a big organization that the world is depending on. But yes, we could do some hand waves for that, I guess.
I wanted to bring something up. Do you remember the book Freud of the Exiles?
Of course.
I'm bringing up Freud because I did not want to read that book.
It was the second book in the Lumiere Chronicles by Melina Marchetta, which was
a bad memory. What's going on here?
Oh, I do, but no, that series was one of the reasons why I wrote Earthsinger. Like, that was one of the foundational inspirations for me to write the Earthsinger Chronicles. So the first book is Finnegan of the Rock, and I highly recommend the series.
I don't know that I ever knew that.
Yeah.
Okay, so in Finnegan, Freud does something unforgivable. I won't spoil it, but he does something unforgivable.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw that his book was book 2 of this amazing series,
Mm-hmm.
it took me a while, but I wanted to know what happened. But he was a villain.
He was an antagonist, and he was also young. He was a teenager. We get his horrific backstory a little bit in book 1, much more in book 2. And yeah, he does something very terrible. And Melina Marchetta, I think, really expertly goes into that in book 2 and then redeems him. And it's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah. That's my point, that she did redeem him. And in previous books, Bo did something that he thought was unforgivable.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that it's interesting when authors make this choice to turn a villain, an antagonist, a bad guy into a hero. I think it's a tall order. And I think it worked.
Mm-hmm.
I think it worked in Freud. I mean, Freud was extreme. But in Bo's case, I think this worked as well because we kept seeing him. We saw all the good work that he was doing. We saw the reasons why he was doing it before we even got his book.
Yeah. We had forgiven Bo in books past, I think. And many people had, even Mercy, she's kind of like, but they're open, because he's important. He's proved himself and he's shown remorse. That's the thing. You have to show remorse and you have to prove that you can do better and then commit yourself to doing better from now on. And
what's interesting though? One of my favorite villains turned heroes didn't do that. Lothair, Presley Cole.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. He is like, I'm bad. I'm going to be bad. But whenever Ellie's around, I'm going to be good.
Kind of like Caleb figure, right?
I think that he, even when Sahara isn't looking, he does good.
Because he knows Sahara's always looking. He doesn't want to get back to her.
Okay.
And Caleb's in this book.
He is in this book.
Talk about Caleb now. I know there's so much that happens in this book, but
I know.
Okay, we'll get to Caleb. How about that?
No, it's a good time to talk about Caleb because as Bo is, so we talked about George. We talked about how they managed to get the serum back from George. I think George was another hand wavium too, where she was doing a sleight of hand, getting us to look in another direction because
Mm.
we thought he was going to destroy things. We heard that he was an octopus shifter and that his tentacles could crush, and we were waiting for that to happen.
And he almost shifts, but Bo proves that he's an alpha because Bo alphas him into stopping. Bo's like, no, stop. And with his alpha voice, and Hugo complies. So it's like he's more dominant. And that was really
George
interesting
complies.
too.
George complies.
I'm
But
sorry,
yeah,
George. Yes.
yeah. So that gets taken care of. They get back to the ship, and Bo gets the procedure done. He's fine.
That 5% chance, which we all knew was going to happen, happens. He's good. He's okay.
Because there was still so much going on. There were the stakes. She gave us this love story. And she's like, y'all good? Y'all satisfied? Okay, strap in. Because
Right?
she just kept raising the stakes. So the experiment was a success. But then Bo can't leave the Alliance. He can't stay in Dark
Black
Sea.
Sea.
Kaia, she needs the sea. She can't be on land. He saw that when he took her up on the rescue mission.
Yeah, her
There's still a
anxiety.
traitor in their midst. There's still Black Sea people that are missing. What's gonna happen?
We're not done.
We're
It's like
not
the Little
done.
Mermaid. He can't live in the water. She can't live on the land. How is this love story? And then she mates him. She allows the mating bond to complete. And he's like, no, don't. But he knows he has got to go back because the human alliance is falling apart. She can't go. Yes. And then George, he doesn't die, but before he kind of falls apart, he's like, there's another guy. There's somebody else but we don't know who he is. So then they're trying to figure out who the other traitor is. Hey, the other traitor is KJ, who's this nice, orderly, super fun, mated to a human. Did not see that one coming. Good sleight of hand, Nalini Singh. So now they're trying to find KJ. And then Bowen has to go back to land and deal with stuff. And he's still trying to find the traitor in his midst. And then we find Hugo, right? Like,
We do find Hugo. And unfortunately, it's when Kaia is okay, we did miss a couple of things. So
it's packed, action packed.
it's action packed. So because Kaia is there when they find Hugo, that's how that they know that Trey and Hugo are the same. But
Right.
Kaia comes back.
She comes to land. She
Comes to land.
girds her loins and comes to land.
She girds her loins. She comes to land, and she comes along with Malachi just because she wants to. Malachi's going to be there for a few hours, so she comes. She sees him. I've got the timeline jumbled in my head. Was this before she goes and hangs out with BB?
Yeah, because she doesn't go. So what happens is they do the Hugo thing. They find out that Hugo is the traitor. He's actually dying. Somebody stuck him with something on the way there. They discover he was dating Hinali, and then he dies. And Kai is really upset, and she's like, she has to leave. She says to Bowen, "I see land when I see you." She's just upset. She doesn't know what she's saying. She goes back to the water. Bowen is like, "Oh no, what do I do? That was really hurtful." He gets this masterful chess idea to use BB to kind of trick Kaia, to like do like a mind game, like a Jedi mind trick on Kaia,
Mhm.
and neg her into coming back essentially.
Because we've seen over and over again with Kaia, if you belong to her, she will fight for you. She
Mhm.
fought for Hugo. She
Yeah,
fought for George.
yeah.
And so what Bo very easily convinces BB to do is like, Bo's not yours. You don't deserve him.
And Kaia's like, huh? What? What you talking about?
Total Jedi mind trick. And she
Right?
goes and gets her man.
And she just starts swimming. She's like, I don't even know where they are. They're not near Venice. She swims across half the earth to get back to him because BB was like, I don't think that he's good enough for you or something. Like she just like, yeah, starts degrading or denigrating
Mhm.
Bowen, and Kai is not here for it.
Not at all.
But, and this is where we get into the Lord of the Rings endings of it all, because I was like, oh, she's gonna go fly, swim back, they're gonna live happily ever after. Oh no, I've got like an hour left in the audiobook. What is happening?
This is when I get anxiety.
Yeah. So she does swim back to him. They have sex on the beach, and then she's going back home, but she's gonna come back, and then she gets caught in a net by fishermen, and we have this whole extra sequence that happens.
They kept ta and see, this is something that we learned as at least something that I learned as a film major, because I was only a film major for 1 semester. Leslie did the whole 4 years. You don't waste film. Like, when you're a film student and you have to pay for the film, get all the equipment, shoot the stuff, pay for people to eat, and then pay to process the film, you don't waste a scene, you don't waste a line of dialogue, you figure out how to make it work because you're eating ramen all the time. So when I see an author start to mention something in their book, I'm clocking it like a film major. Like, you left that in there for a reason. So at the beginning, they started to talk about Kaya's her toe,
Oh,
her
yeah.
cricket, and how she had her
A
diva
tattoo.
toe, how she had like it was it like tattooed or
The
something?
nail, yeah, she broke it and the nail never grew back, so she tattooed where the nail was, and it was such a specific thing. I was like, "Oh, that's interesting, Nalini, like,
Mhm.
what's going on here?" I didn't clock it like you did. I was like, "That's just a very specific." She must have known someone that happened to because that's what I was thinking when we first learned this information. It's so specific and but I was not in my head at all.
Mm-mm. And who when Bo needs to find out, because certain people can track people just by facial expressions. And we didn't mention that Basic
And Ivy Jane.
and Ivy Jane came to help George.
Yeah, because he needed an empath.
He needed an empath.
Yeah.
And Basic can, when he can see someone's face, he can telepath to them because he sees their face.
Teleport.
Teleport. And he and the consortium knows that. And so they immediately start to cut or disfigure in some kind of a way the changelings who they capture. They disfigure their faces.
Mhm.
And when Vasek tries to find her, he can't. So Bo has to call in a favor with who?
The Caleb Krychek.
Yes.
So Caleb in the last book had asked Bowen, talked about the Psi thing, that the Psi need humans in the Psi net. Bowen's like, no, we're not doing that. So Bowen knows that Caleb needs something from him. So he's like, this is the woman, this is my mate. She is missing. We cannot find her. And the she's going to die potentially. So he calls in this favor. Caleb comes immediately and Bowen makes this
But
deal.
1 second. But what they need is the sign know that they need humans in their network.
Hmm.
And humans, especially this one, is like, I was violated by you people. I put my life I put my brain on the line so that you guys couldn't get past me. And he was like, I will take that. I will decimate it.
Right.
Have access to me. I'm not making this deal with anybody else. Me. I put myself at your mercy, whatever you need, if you find my mate.
Exactly. He made this very open-ended deal with the person he knows is the most ruthless person on the planet, probably, but
Mhm.
it doesn't matter because he just will do anything
Anything.
to save Kaia. So they can't do it by face. We know Caleb can't find her. And he starts asking, is there anything else distinctive about her? We can't just use tattoos because so many people on the planet have the same tattoo generally. But, Bowen remembers that Kaia has this very specific toe overlap
Her diva
situation
toe.
and the toe. It's tattooed in a very specific way. And he finds a picture of it, and Caleb is able to find her. Whew.
They get there, and she is badly beaten, but she's plotting how to get out of there. And she sees him. She's like, "Oh." It kind of reminded me of that scene in Ever After when Danielle, like, she's already dispensed to the bad guy with the sword, and she walks
Yes,
outside and there's a prince. She's like, "You're here. Oh, cool."
I saved myself.
We're trying
Yeah.
to figure it out.
Yeah, Kaia was like a minute or two away from saving herself, but
Yes.
they come, they capture the humans on the ship that's being held. Caleb teleports the entire ship
The
to
entire
Lanthea,
ship.
which is just boss moves. That's why he's awesome.
Yes.
And they interrogate. This is when we find out that KJ is the actually, did they already know?
Uh, I think that
They
they
knew,
suspected, yeah, they knew, and then it was confirmed because the
right.
person that they described was KJ to a T, but we do not capture KJ.
Yeah, no, KJ's still in the wind. And he had already like left his wife and just disappeared into the sea. So we knew something was going on with him.
That's
Um,
cruel. Like, because humans, they can't 100% feel the mating bond. So you could lie to a changeling. A bad changeling could lie to a human.
Yeah, and he said he had a human mate and he wore a wedding ring because his wife, asked for that. So he must
Oh,
not have mated her because otherwise he couldn't leave her, right?
he
And
couldn't
he's
have
just
left her.
a bad dude.
Mm. Oh, I
Yeah,
can't wait till they get him.
I know, right?
Ooh,
That'll be
ooh, get
exciting.
him good too, Nalini.
Right? So yeah, we have our ending. Kaia is back safe. Bowen owes Caleb this huge debt, but he's fine to owe it. They buy their house, but Bowen gets a house that's half underwater in Venice so they can live together.
Wait, but the Sahara makes Caleb take it back.
Well, that's at the epilogue. I was going to get there. That's not until the epilogue. So I was trying to finish
I
the regular
ruined it.
story. No, it's so yeah, we have this wonderful, they've crossed the barriers. She's working really hard with a psychologist and just, to get over her phobia and be able to live on land. He has his house that's half underwater, so she can swim in and get to the sea. Fortunately, he lives in Venice, which is a water-based city, very convenient. And so they're out in Venice. They see a couple that looks familiar out on the street in the epilogue, and it happens to be Caleb and Sahara. And Sahara's like, yeah, Caleb told me about this deal. That's not going to work for me. You can't, it's not fair. He shouldn't have made it. He should have known better. He's got to do better. So redo this, work this through. And Boba's like, no, I paid my debts. And Sahara turns to Kaia. She's like, make him understand. Like, you understand what I'm talking about. And Kaia's like, I got this.
Sahara is so not Psy. I don't care what y'all say. She is not Psy.
The
Mm-mm.
empaths are barely Psy. Yeah, they have this like little loophole where they can just be as awesome as they need to be.
Mhm.
Totally stick the landing with that. And you feel like Caleb and Bowen may become friends. Like she makes it sound like it's impossible, but I see it happening.
No, I see it happening too, and I love it when we capture glimpses of people and they're still evolving, they're still growing.
Yeah.
Caleb is still learning.
Yeah. He's always gonna be himself, but he's always
Mhm,
gonna put Sahara first.
mhm.
And he's not even upset. He probably knew when he made the deal that it wasn't gonna stand, honestly. He's like, let me see what I can get away with. But Sahara's not gonna let me go too far. She's his conscience. And that
She is
that epilogue made me
absolutely.
very, very, very happy. I was just super psyched about it.
Yay. But see, again, if you hadn't read the previous books, like, would you have gotten it on that level?
Yeah, you wouldn't even know who Caleb is or Sahara or understand any of this.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I'm sure on one level you would have understood the basics, but like there would be so much you missed if this is where you
So
started.
much.
You would probably just have to go back. You'd probably read the first book and be like, oh, I need to go back and to the beginning and just read
16
it
more
again.
books.
Read all 16 previous, 15, whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
whew.
So yeah, Ocean Light. I don't want to call it a slow burn because I felt like their connection was so intense. We don't
Mhm.
I feel like in these last two books, Nalini Singh might just be tired of writing sex scenes. There's not a lot of not a lot of spice, which is fine. There's a lot else going on. She's got a lot of ground to cover. But it just, maybe by book 17, she's like, I don't really have maybe we'll get a super spicy book in the future where she'll get her mojo back. But I didn't miss it. I just noticed it.
Miss it either.
Yeah.
I didn't
Because
miss
the
it.
emotions were so intense.
Yeah, completely agree, and there was just so many stakes. So
It
much stakes.
yeah, I mean, we didn't even cover just a fraction, I feel like, because stakes were rising left and right. We didn't really mention what is the doctor's name? Her cousin. I can't remember her name. Because he always called her whole entire name, and
Addie?
it was a very Hmm? Addie?
Addie was the nickname,
Yeah, I
I
think it was
believe?
Addie. So Addie is Kaya's cousin, and the entire reason that Bowen is a part of this experiment is all of Black Sea, Mian, Malachi, were like, Addie had 4 miscarriages, and she was very nervous about this pregnancy. They needed her to focus on something else. The only thing she was going to focus on was this experiment. So even though they believe that Bowen might be a traitor and killing them, they're like, we're going to take him in and help him for this one woman so that she can focus on something and have a healthy pregnancy and have this baby, which she ends up doing. I just thought that was the ultimate, example of just clan loyalty and love,
Mhm.
that we're going to move mountains just so this woman can focus on something other than being nervous about her 5th pregnancy going to term. And it was really beautiful.
And she goes into labor as she's operating,
She just
and
waits.
she
She's like, I
doesn't
don't have
say
time for this.
anything.
I'm still working. Don't tell my mate. Yeah. It was
Aw.
I'm not a big
Oh,
fan of pregnancies and babies in books, but like this one worked. It was very motivated and we needed it. And yeah.
yeah. Last two books have pregnancies and births.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, that's part of the thing. Like Nalini Singh loves babies, she loves kids, she loves families. And that's wonderful. You know, it's part of her
Mhm.
theme. It's part of found family and birth family coinciding and colliding.
Mhm. This was a good one.
Yeah, definitely.
So since this was magic, Leslie, has there been any everyday magic going on in Leslie World?
Yeah, I it's been a really stressful time for me work-wise, and so I have been just my brain has just been full of code. I'm doing website development, I'm doing a really difficult coding project. And so yesterday I was like, I knew I needed to go to the gym because, you know, stress lives in your body. And I was like, well, I can even work through it, but if I go to the gym, it'll be a good thing. And I actually went. I made the appointment because I go to these classes. They're sort of like CrossFit classes, so they're pretty intense. And afterwards, did its job in terms of relieving. I couldn't think about anything else. All I could think about was lifting the weights or running or whatever I was doing. And I came home and I just decided I was very, very tired. But part of the self care for me, and I don't love cooking, but sometimes it's like I want to make what I want to make. So I made all of dinner. Like I made every dish because usually it's like, oh well, sometimes I'll buy. Like, I cook generally, but part of the self care was just like cooking and straightening up and washing the dishes afterwards. It helped me, and even though I do not like washing dishes, um, it was just great. It was a great stress reliever to do the whole thing. I felt very satisfied that I had made this meal. I took a picture of it, even though I don't share pictures of food online. I don't. I'm not a foodie, but there is something sort of meditative about preparing a meal, cleaning it up, straightening your space. I cleaned up my apartment afterwards, and I felt better. Like the whole sequence of events felt very magical because it was like a calming ritual almost. And yeah, that was my
What
everyday
did you
magic.
make?
I made salmon. I made biscuits. I have to cook, make my own bread because I'm gluten free and I can't eat most gluten free things. So I made biscuits from scratch, salmon. I made mashed potatoes from scratch, and then I had this salad
Wow.
with a bunch of like strawberries and stuff in it. So
And she
it
didn't even
was.
call me.
I did not invite you over. I'm sorry. I will do better next time.
Thank you.
Ines, have you had any everyday magic?
I did. I don't know if I have mentioned before, but I have an empty nest. It's
Yay!
empty. I love my adult children, but I really love my solitude too. And I've been slowly setting up my office. I don't know why slowly, because I've been dreaming of this for years. Where I could have an office that doesn't have to double as something else. Um, but then I just had because my for years my office was always in my bedroom because I
Mhm,
had two kids. I always had like a three-bedroom something downsized from a house into a condo, into a two-bedroom house. And for my daughter was here for the summer, so again, my office was in my bedroom. And then once she left for Cali on that crazy road trip, I moved my office into what is now my office space. It's not anybody's bedroom anymore. And so I
yes.
had all this space left in my bedroom because there wasn't a desk in there. And I was like, well, what should I do? What should I put in here? What do you do with space in a bedroom? And so I bought this cute little plush chair with a like a footstool, like a footrest, and now I made
Oh,
a little reading nook, and I have a reading nook.
that is delightful. I want a picture because I have not seen this reading nook you have not shared.
I will do that. I don't have any books on the shelf, but I just have my nook. It makes
Yeah,
me very happy.
a reading nook is vital to our self-care, I think.
Yes, yes.
Yay!
Yay! Yay,
It
us.
it's
Salmon and
magical.
reading nooks. So, guys, listen, thank you so, so much for joining us today. We hope that you are having great meals and you're having great readings and hopefully in your own little nook. Let us know that. And also let us know what you think about this episode. You can leave a comment on YouTube with your thoughts. Please do share it with a friend who loves romance. And please take a moment to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
And you can always check out our book schedule on our website, inkandmagic.net, and read along with us in this second season of Side Changeling as we're hurtling towards the end. We only have a few books left until we get to the last one she's released. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Yes.
and we will see you the next time.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.